Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to Marotta Media. This is definitely the most festive review that I've ever made, but how could I not? It's Christmas time, this is my favorite time of year, and I just realized now that I've never made a Christmas review. But I decided to change that today because there is a Christmas movie that came out last week that I thought would be perfect to do my first Christmas review on. Violent Night. In Violent Night, we follow David Harbour, who plays the big man himself, Santa Claus. And on Christmas Eve, when Santa is delivering gifts to this mansion, he finds himself in the middle of a heist where the family is held hostage by mercenaries. So it's up to Santa to save the day. And I had heard about Violent Night for the first time just not too long ago, maybe less than a month ago. And I thought, wow, that looks like a really stupid movie, but hey, at the same time, it looks kind of fun. I went into it really not expecting anything, just to have a bloody good time. And I'm very happy to say that's exactly what I got. Violent Night is an extremely fun holiday movie that puts its own spin on the genre. But I feel like this movie's title doesn't really do it justice because this movie is very violent. I know it's right there in the name itself, but I'm not kidding you. I truly did not expect this movie to be nearly as bloody and brutal as it was. And all of this violence comes to us in this movie's action scenes, and the action sequences are very well done. The stunt choreography isn't really anything too amazing like you would see in, say, John Wick, but it's still very entertaining for what it is. But during these scenes, Violent Night maintains its holiday theme by having Christmas music play in the background while people are fighting. And at times it felt like the tone was a little bit at odds with one another and they clash, but in this case, I think it really worked. The movie really tries to be an action movie, but it also wants to be a Christmas movie, and I think it does a good job of maintaining both. There's also great attention to detail during these fight sequences, because I mean, it's Santa Claus who's fighting off these mercenaries, and I mean, he's not really the most coordinated guy. He's not superhuman, he doesn't have amazing agility, he doesn't kill people left and right, he's just Santa Claus. And this was a really great touch, because if Santa was just killing these guys left and right with no problem whatsoever, I would have questioned that a little bit. And there's a hilarious scene where he's trying to roll over a pool table in a really smooth way, but he just looks so ridiculous and out of shape while doing it. And that's another strength of Violent Night. This movie is very funny. There are a lot of funny lines and line delivery here and there, but what really is the most hilarious part is the action itself. At times, the action just gets so absurd to the point where it comes off as comical, and I really think that's what they were going for here. But I don't know, maybe they were just trying to be as ridiculous as possible, but either way, it really added to the comedic tone of the movie. And while Violent Night is extremely fun, it's also extremely flawed. Even though I just said this movie is chock full of really hilarious dialogue, it's also full of cringy dialogue as well. The writers definitely felt like they were trying too hard to appeal to the younger generation, and I definitely think that was the target audience, but it tried too hard to relate to them in certain ways. Just the way certain characters spoke, I was like, no one talks like that. Come on, get a little more realistic. This movie also does take a little bit of a dip in the middle, at least for me it did. I thought it had a great setup at the beginning and an awesome third act, but in the middle, it just felt very bogged down. And for me, the scenes that really slowed it down were when we cut away from Santa and focused on the family that's being held hostage. I don't know, I really did not find these characters all that interesting. I didn't have any kind of connection to them, and I was just more ready to move on to more Santa scenes or scenes with the mercenaries. And I mentioned earlier, if this movie really tried to make Santa to be this really hardened killer who's done this a million times, that wouldn't have really sat well with me. But they tried to make this make sense as to why Santa can do certain things by diving into his backstory, but they only scratched the surface when discussing who he was before he was Santa. He was like a Viking or something, but that's all we know. And personally, I didn't really need to know anything about Santa's backstory. I mean, we know who he is. If you want to make a few changes here and there, that's fine. But if you want to go into his backstory, either explore it fully or not at all. Violent Night is also guilty of stealing certain tropes from other more successful holiday movies, specifically when it came to the action, and Santa is speaking to the little girl of the family named Trudy through a walkie-talkie, and moments like that really reminded me of Die Hard. And I know I said holiday movie, and I'm not gonna put an end to this by giving my opinion on it, but Die Hard is not a fucking Christmas movie. Stop saying that it is. How many Christmas movies do you know that were released in July? I certainly don't know any. And then there's the little girl Trudy who, as the movie goes on, learns how to defend herself. And she learns to defend herself through the use of booby traps. What does that sound like? Home Alone. But I can't fault the movie too much for this because Trudy herself mentions that she just watched Home Alone the night before. So I guess it must have stuck in her brain and she just suddenly learned how to do all of these things that Kevin McAllister did to Marv and Harry, but I don't know, I'm not really gonna question it. She must be a very brilliant child. And this last problem I had is a little thing, but it's something that my cousin actually pointed out to me, and he's absolutely right. Trudy's dad gets like one of his fingers cut off or something, but he gets a serious injury to his finger as a form of torture. And as the movie progresses, I noticed that his finger just magically healed itself. So did the filmmakers just completely forget that they did that? Because in some people's cases, it was pretty noticeable. But overall, Violent Night was a very bloody good time. I truly do love this movie's concept because it's something that I've never thought about before. What would happen if Santa went to the wrong house at the worst possible time? Like, did you ever wonder what it would be like if Santa was delivering gifts to a house and stumbled upon, say, a domestic dispute? Because I certainly haven't. But it is such a hilarious concept, and I'm so happy that they decided to turn it into a feature-length film because it really is a great idea. Violent Night feels like it could be a summer action flick, but it also maintains that Christmas cheer and that message of the true meaning of Christmas. And honestly, I'm surprised how much I enjoyed this movie, and I think this could be a good Christmas movie for the whole family. Obviously, don't let your kids watch it, but maybe watch it with them when they get a little bit older. And once they get to that age, I think that this would be a really good holiday movie for everyone. And overall, I would give Violent Night a 7 out of 10. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my review of Violent Night. If you guys like this movie, let me know what you thought about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what's your favorite Christmas movie of all time? If you guys like this review, be sure to hit that thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. If you want to see my previous reviews, I will link those right over here. Other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day. I will see you all next time.